Right then, round one. What I've done with these videos, I was planning on kind of doing them and narrating them as I did them, but what I've actually done is sitting in front of the telly downstairs. I've played each round, but I can't really talk over them while I'm down there due to the background noise and my wife giving me strange looks. So what I've done is I've played them in silence and I'm just narrating over the top of them now. I'm sure a lot of you will just turn the sound down anyway, so it wouldn't make much difference to you, but anyway. So round one's Interlaken from 60, Interlaken out course. And the first hole's a par 3. This is deceptively, if you follow the usual kind of adjustments for the elevation of the green, you'll probably overshoot a little bit, which, to be honest, I've put no practice in. This is my third try I think I've recorded here. First 2 rounds I absolutely knocked it up on this first hole, which was pretty annoying, and it's literally just not practicing at all. It's not too difficult to course this one, so I thought I'll just go with no practice, which I've regretted, as you'll see in the score at the end. Should really, with 5 tries, you should really get a perfect round of -16 with my stats. As you'll see again, I didn't quite manage that. But anyway, decent approach. I've used a backspin shot and I put it within 1 yard, thereabouts. The next hole, to be honest, is the key hole usually, although in all my practice rounds here, or in all my tour rounds that I played, it wasn't for me. I've managed it fine every time, which is a bit annoying because it's the most difficult hole. I actually made my mistakes randomly on a couple of different holes as well, which you'll see one of them later on. Well, this one for me, it will be I think I play a two iron power shot here, to land with a fairly easy putt, testing my memory again, because I did this with a couple of cans of beer in front of the telly, and trying to remember what I did. Let's see, it looks like I'm going with a 5 wood actually, so I'll play a slightly underpowered 5 wood. I would have thought. You've got to be careful. I know I did change to the 2 iron in the end. I thought I did probably a full 2 iron, I would have thought. Now I've gone just under. It was literally a sliver under 100%. It was still shown as 100%, but I've taken a tiny bit off it, which by the look of it, you've got to land either on the fringe or just in the front of the green, just before the front of the green. Otherwise you will go off the back more than likely, but that's fine. You'll notice I will always try to get within, well, you always will anyway, but it's important to try and get within 5.4 yards if you're in a close tour, which I don't think I'm going to have this week. But if points are important, then there's a couple of things to consider. There's an eagle there. Putting the ball within 5.4 yards will give you an extra 2 points for a nice approach. You'll notice the points at the right of the score there, so I've got 39. A perfect shot is worth 4 points rather than 2 for a nice shot, which you'll get. So that's why a lot of people use juice all the time, and I think I have actually on this round. Can't quite remember actually, but again, just keep an eye on that. Also, playing a full shot, and by that I mean 100% when it says max, as it is there, that'll get you 1 extra point as well. So if you're in you've had your first couple of rounds and you're tied on points, and you're going to play through the round again, you think you can equal your score, but you want to better your points, then look for getting full shots wherever you can. Look for obviously getting a perfect shot if you've got plenty of juice to use, or if you happen to hit a perfect shot, it will give you better points. And getting the ball within 5.4 yards. Once you're on the green, it is possible to chip for an extra couple of points if you think you can chip it in the hole, which I don't think I do any on this round, but I might do later on. I'll flag it up when I do. Or alternatively, if you can hit the ball full with your putter in the same way as with a drive or with any other club, if you hit it max, it gives you 1 extra point as well. Other place you can get points from is hitting a long putt. So I think that's anything over about 7 or 8 yards from the hole. The game will class as a long putt, and you will get 1 extra point for that as well. So there's lots of things to consider. To be honest, this week's tour, I'm not really tested that much. I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have done a video. I mean, I might try and do a video on Master Pro A, but when I'm recording on the tablet, it does get a little bit jerky. It's not quite as easy to stop it on the lines, which can be the difference between holding the green and not, or missing a bunker and not. So it's something I might try and do, but I probably won't. You probably won't see a successful tour if I do that, but I'm happy to give it a go. We'll maybe do that another time. But anyway, so this is, I think this might be where I get away with murder. Let's just watch. No, it wasn't one of the rounds, because I played 5 rounds of each of the first, all my 5 tries on each of the first 3 rounds. One of them I actually clipped the outside of the mountain, bounced out of the rough and just managed to get on the fairway and got away with a birdie. But it obviously wasn't this one. Forget I said that. So a lot of people will actually play kind of lay up on this shot and try and play like a pitch into the hole, because it's a lot easier to go after the hole and perhaps get an eagle. I actually go quite close here, I think, but it's quite tricky. With a flop you don't get much leeway because it doesn't roll on much, so you have to get it absolutely bang on to get it on in the hole. In this case I didn't have the line right anyway. It's a lot easier to get the line right with a flop than it is because you're closer into the hole, you know. It's a lot easier to get it really close, so that's what I did. Anyway, so we're on a hole 5. I've just been talking away. This is a potential albatross if you've got the stats, which I do. So the only thing to consider here is really a little bit too short, and you'll end up on the very front of the green and have quite a tricky putt. The pin's right at the back. So my aim here is going to be to land it just after the front of the green, so it's going to land on the green. With a driver, you've got to be careful you don't go over the back, but from previous experience with that wind in my face, that tells me it's going to hold up. I seem to remember I didn't adjust as much as I should have done for the left and right wind, and I end up a bit over to the right here, but not too tricky a putt to put in. Yeah, my memory does serve me correctly on this one. I've had a few requests for put-in videos. As I've said in one of the replies to the comments, a guy called Eugene keeps popping up. Hello Eugene, if you're watching, with the same comment. It's really tricky for me, because to be honest I don't have any set method of putting. A lot of people use like a counting method, and you know, I've got an idea of the distance to hit it, which I'll come back to in a moment, but I don't have a method I will follow for every hole. So right, this is the way you're going to get perfect putts every time. To be honest, I do it by feel and experience. I line it up. A lot of the time I get it wrong and I rely on the guide. I wouldn't class myself as the best putter in the world, so if you want in putting videos, you're probably better looking elsewhere, to be honest. Anyway, so from the 6th tee, this one is a draw. You can hit a straight shot on most other tees, but for this one you really do have to draw it. So that's what I'm going to do. Actually, you could probably play a sky shot, which I might do a video on, because to be honest I don't really use it much at all. It's a fairly new shot and it's very useful, but it's really, really strongly affected by the winds. I've not quite got my head around it yet. But anyway, so there is a decent enough drive, not quite within the 5-point yards required for a nice approach for the extra points. Again, that's not particularly important at the moment, because as you'll see at the end, I'm fairly comfortable in tour this week. So I mean, there's an example of the guide. So I've lined it best I can, I've made my adjustment, and I'm just going to try and hit it on the line. It's as simple as that. The key is, in the first instance, trying to get your initial lineup as close as possible, so that the guide is going to be more useful to you. If you don't get it right, you know, if it's a really hard breaking putt and you don't get your line right on, it's really tricky, even with a guide, to get it in the hole, especially on downhill putts. Now I seem to remember this is where I've made my mistake and I've hit it too hard. What I did, I think I went with a full 2 wood, hoping that it would land a little bit before the marker there. There's a big right to left slope and that should dink it across onto the green. However, I've hit it too hard. I should have got about 10 yards shorter here. Again, lack of practice. I should have gone through and practiced it and got my markers before. So there's a lesson. As you can see, it lands. It wasn't too bad. It was about 5 yards too hard. But that 5 yards is the difference between getting on the green and not. So it gives me a chance of a chip. I've made a couple of chips in my previous rounds, and I thought, oh, that'll be good for the video, but I don't think I made this one. Let's just check. You can see I've gone way left of the hole. That's because the elevation, or the lie on the right is showing R3, so it's going to move over to the right, but it moved over much further than I calculated there. I'm an okay chipper, but again, there's better guys than me around for that. I put in some decent ones from time to time. Anyway, so that was a dropped shot. So from a potential 16 under, the best I can possibly do now is 15 under. I just need a birdie on 8, which is a par 3, and an eagle on 9, which is a par 4. Again, with my stats, it's not a particularly big ask because this isn't the hardest course in the world. It's really all about stats. If everybody was on a level playing field, there's no way in a million years, as soon as I drop a shot, I wouldn't top the group. But I'm really helped by the fact that I've got a lot of stats. Anyway, there's a big right to left slope on this one. So when you're calculating for the wind, you'd always add a little bit more for the slope. It's going to roll 2 or 3 yards to the left. Even if the wind was totally straight, I would aim it out to the right a little bit, because as you can see, it's red on the right and it's turning green as it goes left, so that indicates that it's higher on the right and the ball's going to roll off to the left after it lands. So we'll see evidence of that there now, hopefully. I think I'm trying to hit it a little bit softer. Yeah, that should do it, I think. So you should see, as it lands, it's going to roll over to the left quite significantly. A little bit short, so a little bit harder. The break wouldn't have taken so much, so my line was about right, but I just didn't hit it quite hard enough. Again, with the putts, I'm making my best guess of the line using the guide. That tells me, yep, it's going to hit, but I can make it a further adjustment just to make sure it goes right down the middle. As long as I hit it on that blue line, I know it's going to go in, which I do. So, nearly done. Under the par 4 9th. This again is one that you could perhaps use a sky shot on. I think I need to do a video on sky shot, mostly for my own benefit, because I'm really there's a few holes where I've used it and I kind of know how to use it on that hole, but I haven't got a method to say, okay, if you've got a 3-yard wind, then it will travel this much further, and it's really heavily affected by the wind, the sky shot. So for this one, I'm going with a fade, and it's going to bounce in front of the bunker. The aim was to just clip the edge to take the pace off it, which I did manage to do. So that was pretty much as good as I could have intended. That tiny bit too hard, and you can end up with a 20-yard putt, which is holeable, but not half as easy as this one. This doesn't even require a guide. It's just a case of whacking it to the left edge and letting the break pull it in a bit, and it should end up pretty central. There we go. So that's it. So 15 under. If you've got 2,000, 2,500 stats, you can't get anywhere near that, So again, this isn't a victory for skill. It's a victory for stats more than anything else. But that's the game. That's Golfstar. I would like to think if I'd put a bit of practice in, I should have comfortably done a 16 under, but I didn't. There you go. But you could see where I made the mistake. And hopefully, there'll be some benefit of this. Even with lower stats, you can get an idea of the break of the green. How I put, I guess, might be useful to some people, although I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, onwards and upwards. There'll be another video coming up soon. Thanks for watching.